What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my banner review and builds guide for the Icy Invitation banner featuring Duo Fjorm, Ice Tribe Felicia, Thea Flora, and Nils as the Grail reward. So let's start with the strongest unit of this banner, Duo Fjorm, and this time she's a Lance Armor with Ice Crystal Spear as her preferred weapon. This gives her minus on special cooldown, making her dual ice mirrors into a 1 cooldown special, and if foe initiates combat or if foe's HP is at or above 75%, then she's able to get extra stats in the combat, and this is 5 plus X, and the X is going to be number of allies in 3 spaces of her times 3. So max this could be 14 like any kind of modern unit, and then she has got the flat unpierceable damage reduction based on 20% of her speed. This is not going to be applied to the AoE specials, but with Breath of Life 4 and Aether, AoE specials are not the biggest weakness for Duo Fjorm. She also has null penalties to all of her stats, so with all of these debuffs running around with Deploy skills, Sabotage skills, and many of the other units, Fjorm is not going to be getting phased by it, and that's a really strong thing for a Far Savior. And then because she's fast, she's able to have full null follow-up built into this weapon, and she also heals up 7 HP per attack in the combat. So she has got some good self-sustain and some good tanking, and then she is also able to get null counter disrupt against the ranged foes. So you shouldn't really be tanking any kind of melee foes to begin with because Fjorm is kind of weak to that, and there she's not going to be getting null counter disrupt, but as a Far Savior specialist she's going to be appreciating having null counter disrupt, which not a lot of armor units have got built into their weapon. And then she has got an insane special in Dual Ice Mirrors, which is a 1 cooldown special with her weapon, and when the special triggers you get 40% damage reduction against the range attacks, and this is the unpierceable damage reduction just like any kind of defensive special. And not only this is a defensive special, but it also helps you offensively because it has got the damage reflection just like Ice Mirror, and this is going to be helping you hit harder, and at the bare minimum this is going to be 40% of her resistance, and this also gives you 100% damage reduction piercing, which again is not usual for a defensive special, and she has got the full distant counter built into this weapon without any kind of condition. So this is what makes Fjorm really special because she has got the full damage reduction piercing while having a defensive special that has got damage reflection and distant counter, and she's able to make the max use out of Shield Fighter, which other armors are not really able to do because they don't really have dual ice mirrors like her. And being a duo unit, she does have her duo skill, which is going to be seeing usage in Summoner Duels, and it is basically going to be an ice domain expansion, setting up the Divine Vein ice terrain on her space and space within 2 spaces of her for 2 turns. So this can be a really annoying thing in Summoner Duels and can really slow up the match in a way, and this allows you to set up with your team and just be annoying to the enemy, and even if they've got Celica Ring, Felix, or anything like that, they will need to break the ice first, unless they can set up some kind of other terrain which can override this. But yeah, this is a really good tool in Summoner Duels for sure, and this also allows you to use the Duo Hindrance in Aether Raids defense when you're going to be using her as a Far Savior. And like I said, Shield Fighter is one of the things that makes Fjorm into such an insane unit. So this is a new fighter skill that is the level up of Hardy Fighter, and this is only going to be inheritable to the melee units, and you need to use a defensive special with this skill just like with Hardy Fighter, so no armor flow or armored beacon, and this is going to be inflicting -4 attack and speed debuff on the foe in the combat. And if you have a defensive special, then you get special cooldown -1 jump before foe's first attack, including the brave attacks, which is really good for saving yourself against the insane brave attacking units that we've got nowadays. And it also gives you the special cooldown jump before foe's first follow-up attack. So the only time you're not able to have the special cooldown jump is when foe is able to quad attack you and you don't get that on the 4th hit, or if they've got potent, then it's not going to be active for the 3rd potent follow-up attack or the 5th potent follow-up attack. So this is almost a bulletproof skill that most armors want for the survivability. Again, other armors are not going to be having the damage reduction piercing like Dual Ice Mirrors, but they're mainly going to be using this to survive the insane nukes nowadays. So this definitely helps them have some kind of staying power, and even your old saviors can function a lot better because of Shield Fighter. And if you have a defensive special, which you should with Shield Fighter, then the special is going to be triggering twice, and then you get 7 flat damage reduction, and each special trigger is calculated as a separate activation. So pretty much with Escutcheon and Sacred Cowl, you're going to be getting 51% damage reduction as they're going to be triggering twice, and Dual Ice Mirrors is in between with 64% damage reduction, and with Pavis and Aegis, you get 75% damage reduction. And this is completely unpierceable damage reduction, and you get flat damage reduction on top of it. And special jumping does help you trigger those specials easily, and defensive specials are not susceptible to scout skills compared to the other specials like Armored Beacon or Armored Flow. So defensively, this is the main skill that any kind of armor wants to run, and one of the better armors nowadays is definitely Gatry with his amazing weapon refine. So this allows you to run Escutcheon with Emblem Marth. Emblem Marth is going to be needed with the Shield Fighter builds because you only get one special cooldown jump, and if you don't have a slaying weapon like Gatry, then Escutcheon is a 2 cooldown special, so you need to bring it down to 1 cooldown with Emblem Marth, and then you could trigger it because of the special jumping of Shield Fighter. So this allows him to function as a really good near savior, easily one of the best near saviors that we have in the game. And again, this is defensively useful, so Close Defense 4 is going to be the best skill for any kind of near savior for ignoring any kind of visible buffs of the enemy in conjunction with Shield Fighter. And this can also be useful on a top tier far savior like Valentine Myrrh, who already provides utility with the warp blocking. So now Shield Fighter is able to provide her with more survivability because she can run Aegis with Emblem Marth, which makes it a 1 cooldown special, and then you get the special jump with Shield Fighter, and this allows you to survive against the brave attacks and the follow-up attacks of the enemies, which is really important. So the special jumping of Shield Fighter and the increased unpierceable damage reduction is a really good thing for any far savior, and Myrrh has a pretty good time running this because unlike many of the far saviors, she actually has the 50% damage reduction piercing in her Slotsy skill. So while it's not full damage reduction piercing like Duo Fjorm, it's kinda close, and you get the utility of Warp Bubble. So if you have invested in Valentine Myrrh, then this is going to be a better skill than Canny Fighter, and Hardy Bearing is going to be needed on any kind of modern far savior to break up the Desperation nukes, and it is helpful for Myrrh. You could also run this on Rearmed Grima, so if you have some inheritances left for Rearmed Grima, then it's much better to fodder Duo Fjorm to Grima and then chain Shield Fighter to other armor units, and this way Rearmed Grima is also going to be able to get this skill and function as a much better near savior, with Arcane Feldstone giving her a lot more stats and Pavis with Emblem Marth being able to function with Shield Fighter. You also get full on follow up with Arcane Feldstone, so it is going to be a better weapon compared to the bread that she comes with, and you can also run this on another far savior in Brave Female Corin, so she's going to be getting a weapon refine next year. But until then, if you want to use her as a far savior and have better survivability, then Shield Fighter is going to be helpful, and you can run Emblem Marth with Aegis, and she still has a bit of niche because of being able to set up the stone terrain with her weapon. So even if you don't run any kind of Breath of Life 4 support, at least she's going to be having that damage reduction against the AoE specials, and then she has got the flat damage reduction in her Realms United, so that can be stacked up with Shield Fighter, and you can have a lot more unpierceable damage reduction. Now you might be wondering why you have not seen Sacred Cowl with Emblem Ike Ring, and the reason being is that Aegis with Emblem Marth is easily better because it gives you a bit more damage reduction. So that's why I'm not really showcasing any kind of build with Sacred Cowl and Ike Ring, because Emblem Marth with Aegis is strictly better. And for melee units, of course, Pavis with Emblem Marth is something that they would like to run. And we're going to be getting the 3 houses holoforms in the revival pool, so you could definitely try and wait out and see if Edelgard is able to get this in the holoforms, because if you're trying to increase your survivability, then Shield Fighter with Pavis is amazing. And unlike Gatry, she does have a -1 special cooldown weapon, so Pavis is easily something you can run. And an armor unit which many people like to use in their Aether Raids defense is definitely for Mortis. He's not really all that good as a far savior anymore, but he could still function as a near savior, and Shield Fighter is a pretty nice upgrade for him because Hardy Fighter had this weakness in Aether Raids defense where it wouldn't really help you against the turn 1 engagements, and now it's even more annoying with Emblem Celica and insane units like Brave Felix who are immune to traps. So this is going to be bypassing that weakness, as you're going to be getting the special jumping, and even on turn 1 you're able to have your Pavis helping you as a near savior. So you could try and run this on him, and if you're running Marthring on some other unit, then you could try and run Escutcheon, but Pavis is needed to have the most amount of damage reduction, and for Mortis being able to survive is really annoying for the enemy because of his ending action of Nightmare. So Shield Fighter is perfect if you have heavily invested for Mortis. I do like Squad Ace, BX Sacred Seal along with Defense Res Near Save to maximize his survivability, because Brave Felix does have the Hexblade effect, so just boosting up a resistance can still help you round out your bulk essentially. And in Astro Season, we do have Ashera and Plumeria giving out the Hexblade status, so I really like it, and hopefully this can give you an idea with Shield Fighter and what kind of builds you want to run, and it's up there with Lagoose Friend and Breath of Life 4 when it comes to being meta impactful skill out of this year. Coming back to Duo Fjorm, she's easily the best Far Savior in the game right now because she barely even gets scratched against a lot of the range threats nowadays, and then she has got her duo skill to help her in Summoner Duels, and she can hit really hard while also being extremely bulky. You just have to watch out for any kind of faster unit, as is the case with a lot of fast Far Saviors. But in the case of Fjorm, you especially have to be really careful because a unit like Brave Bernie can still kill Duo Fjorm if she's able to quad attack, because you don't really get the special jumping and the damage reduction on the quad attack, and that's why you really need the Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal. So you need to watch out for those kinds of units and run her with the plus speed IV, which does have a super boon, and being fast is going to be really important. You could also go with the attack IV if you're going to be ascending an asset, because that means you're going to be finishing off the enemies a lot easily, so it can be run, but you could also boost up her HP to have a better overall bulk. There's not a lot to be changed on Duo Fjorm. Deluge Boost is a pretty decent skill giving you the extra bulk. Maybe in the future we get better skills, so it could be replaced, but right now it is the best slotted skill, and you can also run Emblem Ike for having more unpierceable damage reduction, and he's the best emblem for her right now. And like I said, you really need to be careful around the Desperation effects and the units that can quad attack Fjorm, and that's why Hardy Bearing is going to be the best Sacred Seal you could run. If you don't want to bother with Aether Raids, offense, defense, or Summoner Duels, then maybe you could run some other Sacred Seal like Attack Speed Form for stacking up more speed, but as far as the other game modes are concerned, Hardy Bearing is the Sacred Seal that you want to run on Fjorm. You also want to support Fjorm with Breath of Life 4 allies or Hathran if you can, because that allows you to not care about the pre-combat damage or the AoE specials, so she can be really annoying if you support her well, and if you also throw in a bit of warping with something like Attune Micaiah and the cleansing, then Fjorm is going to be at her max potential when it comes to being the best Far Savior in the game. Ice Tribe Felicia is an Axe Cavalier with Ice Tribe Axe as her preferred weapon. This has got minus on special cooldown, and it also gives her the Hexblade effect, so she's able to have that adaptive damage, and at sort of every turn she's going to be granting the Dragon Shield status to her support partner or the ally with the highest resistance in 3 spaces. And Dragon Shield pretty much gives you the immunity against the dragon infected weapons. We only saw this before on Duo Din, but this is a lot easier to outsource now with Felicia, and this does help the dragons tank a lot better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to run her with a dragon to get the full use out of this, because they're still going to be getting the Dragon Shield status, and if there's any kind of Dragon Shield ally in 3 spaces of Felicia, then she's going to be giving them +5 speed and resistance in their combat, and they also get null penalties to their speed and resistance and null counter disrupt in the combat, which is new because we don't really have any kind of other unit who can outsource this kind of null counter disrupt. So this is going to be pretty unique for many of the units that don't really have access to null counter disrupt echo or the slot B skill. So Brave Alphonse is a recent unit who comes to mind, so you can try and run him with Felicia, and there are a lot of infantry dragons that can already run the null counter disrupt echo skill because they have a preferred skill. So Legendary Male Lear is going to be a pretty good unit with that, and also Legendary Female Korin, so she does have the Negating Fang which she wants to run, and she also wants to run Lagoose Friend, so you can just outsource null counter disrupt with Felicia. And this is the reason why Felicia is going to be standing out, because there's no other support unit who's able to do what she does. and she's also able to get extra stats in the combat for herself, depending on 15% of her speed at start of combat. And you can easily get around plus 14 to all of your stats, and you also get true damage based on 20% of her speed, so she is able to have a bit better damage output, and she's also able to have 50% damage reduction piercing, so even if she's not going to be running no quarter, she's able to pierce the damage reduction, and for herself she's able to get 40% damage reduction from foes' first attacks. She does come with attack speed XL, which is going to be giving her the flat damage reduction, and this could help Felicia survive. She also has alt speed wave, which is able to give her the null follow-up effect, but there are definitely other slots of skills that she can try and run if she's mainly going to be supporting an ally. She does come with the speed resistance variant of the Near Tray skill, which does work out with the Hexblade effect of her weapon, and her speed is going to be the super boon, so that is the main IV that you want to aim for. So Felicia is not some insane support unit, but still a pretty unique one whose support can be situationally useful depending on the tank that you're trying to tank with. And you can even give out the null counter disrupt to all of your allies if you run her with Citrine, but that's mainly for fun, and ideally you're not going to be running Citrine when you're going to be using Felicia in something like Aether Raids offense. And her damage output is actually not that bad, so in Aether Raids offense she can easily function as a cleanup unit with her cavalry mobility. If you're trying to build up Felicia on a budget, then you can simply give her attack speed clash as the sacred seal, and Emblem Celica can work with the Excel skill, so you can still keep Luna as the special because you already get the damage reduction piercing. But if you're trying to use her as an Aether Raids offense support unit, then you could definitely try and have a more supportive build with attack speed Ruse 4 and infantry speed tactic, which can give out the null follow-up status to an infantry tank, and the Ruse 4 skill can also be good for the support. So this is the main build to be run if you're going to be using her in Aether Raids, and if you're going to be using her more for her combat and you want to run some other skills, then Flared Sparrow could be an option for setting up the flame terrain and then retreating with her Canto. And no quarter can also be helpful because it gives you the full damage reduction piercing, so it's a nice special to have even if she already has damage reduction piercing in her weapon. Ice Tribe Thea is a sword flyer with Ilian Frostblade as her preferred weapon. This gives her -1 special cooldown, but it doesn't really have the Hexblade effect like the other units from this banner. Instead, at start of turn, if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, then she can give herself and the allies in 2 spaces the triangle attack status, which enables the Brave effect, and also Canto 1 status. So she's almost like a bit of an upgrade compared to Brattle Catria, because Canto 1 is really good for positioning, and Thea's own combat is going to be better than Brattle Catria, and she's also helpful in Aether Raids offense on Gale Force teams. But for her own combat, she's able to get extra stats depending on 5 plus X, and this X is going to be number of times Dragon Flowers have been used on her times 2. So if you use all 5 Dragon Flowers, then she's able to get the max 15, and she also has the 50% damage reduction piercing, which other units from this banner also have, and she also gets 7 flat damage reduction from foes' first attacks, including the Brave hits, and she's also able to get special charges +1 per attack. So this allows her to easily retaliate back with Iceberg or even trigger Gale Force a lot more easily compared to the other units, and it can also allow you to make use of Miracle and defensive specials if you're going to be using her in Summoner Duels. And Thea also brings a new skill in Air Orders 4, which is definitely going to be making Legendary Hinoka and Arian jealous. So if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, then she's able to give the flying allies and herself in 2 spaces the +6 attack and speed buff, the charge status, and also the order status. So this way she's almost able to function like Brattle Catria by giving you the order status and the triangle attack, but only for the flying allies, and charge status can definitely be good for the mobility, but I feel like ground orders is going to be much better, and there are some other options which she could run as a flyer. So air orders is not really all that insane of a skill, and Thea does have pretty good resistance, and she does come with Pegasus Rift. So after you give her the Dragon Flowers, she can easily hit 40 resistance, which is the benchmark you need to hit for Pegasus Rift to make the full use out of it. Overall, I think that Ice Tribe Thea is a pretty nice tech option to be used in Aether Raids offense on many of the Gale Force teams, and she could also be useful in Summoner Duels, but nowadays we don't really see that many Brattle Catria teams. But if you really like those teams, then Thea could function in that. but you always have to watch for the Schism status, which E3 is able to have with her weapon refine. So that's why I think that Aether Raids offense is pretty much going to be her best game mode. You're not really going to be seeing her in Vaults of Heaven in Aether Raids defense because Battle Catcher teams have fallen off, and we just have such strong nukes that you don't really need the brave hits, and there are many defense archetypes, so Thea is really not going to be having any kind of staying place there as a melee flyer. Thea doesn't really come with a slotted skill, so attack speed catch is pretty much the skill that you could run out of divine codes, and with her charge status you can easily make use of the Clash Sacred Seal. Iceberg is fine as a special, which you're going to be able to trigger because of her special charges, and she already has the 50% damage reduction piercing, so even at higher investment, no quarter is not something she immediately needs. So like I was saying, she is really good in Aether Raids offense on a Gale Force team because she's able to trigger Gale Force because of the triangle attack status and the special charges that she has got. So if you run her with Emblem Marth and Asker, then it's even easier to trigger Gale Force, and even if you don't, she's still going to be functioning fine. So you can just have a bit of an extra power on your Gale Force team with the brave attacks of triangle attack, and it can really help you against many of the maps where we have got some insanely tanky units like Hathrin with Lagoose Friend. So Thea can be a bit of a tech option there, and attack speed Clash 4 could be run so that you can get the debuff neutralization out of it, and it's going to be a step up from attack speed catch 4, and it can definitely work out in Aether Raids offense when you're going to be warping with Wings of Mercy, and Deadly Miasma can also be helpful for ignoring any kind of visible buffs, so it is useful as a slotsy skill, and Soaring Echo is going to be the best attune skill that you could run on her. It's not really needed that much in Aether Raids offense, but I just wanted to showcase it because it is the main attune skill that you want to give her. You could also run her in Summoner Duels. So like I said, the Battle Catcher teams are a bit on the low when it comes to Summoner Duels S and the overall higher tier usage, but she can be a pretty good way of making a team around. So you could have Miracle so that you could trigger it on the enemy's double because of the special charges that she's able to get, and Attack Speed XL is the best slotted skill that you could try and run, and Pegasus Rift is going to be helping you survive, so that is something that she has got over Brattle Catria. And Speed Defense Rain Snap might seem like a meme, but if you're using other than flying units on your team with her, then Rain Snap is a lot better because you get the +1 movement and you're able to move diagonally, so it's pretty helpful for positioning. So I do like it a bit more than Air Orders 4 if I'm being honest, and you're also able to give the 2-space warping with Soaring Echo, so that is just perfect as she can draw back a unit, then Canto, and then position herself and enable the warping. And even if you're going to be using her outside of Summoner Duels, then this is going to be her best build, and you can replace the special with something like No Quarter if you really want to and run her with Emblem Celica, so that is going to be working out for her. But for Summoner Duels as Thea Ball is something that you're able to make. Ice Tribe Flora is the 4-star focus unit of this banner, and she's a colorless Dagger Cavalier with Ice Dagger Plus as the inedible weapon. This has got the Hexblade effect, so you get that adaptive damage, and if she initiates combat or if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, then she's able to get +5 to all of her stats, and also the guaranteed follow-up attack, which does help her with her low speed, and 50% damage reduction piercing, which is amazing for an inedible weapon. So this could be used on many of the infantry dagger units with physical null follow-up or speed defense tempo 4, and you can stack up the damage reduction piercing, so it's a pretty good weapon if you're not able to give them an arcane dagger. And for Flora, this is going to be her best weapon because she's not able to have damage reduction piercing outside of this, and she would need to rely on lethality to get that, but you're not going to be able to have it on every single hit. So this is pretty much going to be the best weapon that you could run on her, and she also takes advantage of the guaranteed follow-up attack in case the enemy is able to survive and they don't have null follow-up. And she also has good bulk with 31 defense and 46 base resistance, which can easily enable the usage of many of the resistance stacking skills like ploy skills, sabotage skills, and stuff like that. So she's also able to provide utility to your team. Unfortunately, she doesn't get a preferred weapon, but even then, she is pretty decent with the things that she's able to do. She also has Disarm Trap 3 as a 4-star focus, so this can help you get Potent Disarm or Disarm Trap 4 on any other dagger unit. For Flora herself, she's not able to get Potent Disarm, so Disarm Trap 4 is pretty much something you could run, but it's not really going to be useful outside of Aether Raids. If you're going to be building Flora on a budget, then you can try and make use of the Summer Mercedes combat manual that we had in the limited ephemera manual, or even Happy Combat manual that we got a couple of months back, because she's able to get attack resistance catch from her, and also attack resistance fortress, and the resistance debuff can help her with the Hexblade effect, so it does work out for her. And you can also resistance refine her weapon. Iceberg with Emblem Marth is going to be a 2 cooldown special that is going to be much easier to trigger than Glacies, and Panic Smoke could be a decent slotsy option that you could get out of Grail units. So there are not a lot of budget skills that you would like to have, but this is something that you could try and build up. And Ice Dagger, I feel like, is her best weapon, so you don't really have to be pressured to give her an arcane weapon. And even at higher investment, you can try and run Ice Dagger Plus with Iceberg, and Crystalline Water can be a pretty good slotty skill for her for the cleansing of the debuffs, and also Panic for her attack and resistance. And you're able to run the Ploy skill. So Ploy is going to be the best slotsy skill that you could run on Flora, because it fully makes use of her visible resistance, and you're also able to support your allies, and the exposure status can also give you more true damage, and sabotage attack resistance could be run in her slot bay. So this way you're able to have the sabotage effect and also have access to the attack debuff. So again, this makes use of her visible resistance, which you can try and stack up with Crystalline Water and Still Water. And Fortress Echo is going to be her best attune skill, so that she can get a bit more true damage and also get the Canto. Even though pre-combat damage is not as insane before because of Breath of Life 4, you could still try and get it with Flared Mirror and Assassin's Strike combo, and you can still run the Ploy skill, because like I said, it is pretty much going to be the best slotsy skill for her at higher investment. And the debuffs also help her with the Hexblade effect that she has got. So Squad Ace BU Secret Seal can give you the visible resistance, and again, Fortress Echo is going to be her best attune skill. If you really want to run Lethality and Arcane Void, then it could be run, and you can have a player phase build. Pulse Smog is also an option that you could try and run in the slot C and get the Scowl effect in the player phase, and this way you're able to provide some utility while also running Sabotage Attack Defense. So keep in mind that Arcane Void doesn't really have the Hexblade effect, and that's why Sabotage Attack Defense can work out with her weapon. And Arcane Void with Emblem Marth can make it pretty easy for you to trigger Lethality, but overall I like Ice Dagger a bit more because of its passive damage reduction piercing. Ice Tribe Nils is a Grail unit of this batch again, and he's a blue dragon this time. So he has got Ice Dragonstone Plus, which does have the Hexblade effect against the range enemies, which all of the dragon breaths do, so he doesn't really get an equivalent effect compared to Flora's weapon, which is a bit of a shame. And this weapon does give him +5 to all of his stats and guaranteed follow-up attack, which is not really as good as full null follow-up if he had that instead of having the guaranteed follow-up attack. And then he has got 50% damage reduction piercing, which is again going to be helpful on a budget if you're not able to give him Arcane Feldstone. And because of being a Grail unit, he has got play as his assist, so this is not a high scoring assist if you want to use him for arena. But yeah, this is going to be having limiting potential because the other insane refreshing skills that we have got on the dancers that we have got nowadays is just absurd. So Nils is going to be having a hard time standing out. Nils does have a speed and attack super bone, and his attack is actually pretty low for a modern unit at base 35. His resistance is also decent, so if you want to try and use the scout skills, it can definitely be something that you could do at max investment. But yeah, because of not really having a preferred weapon or a preferred assist, he's not going to be standing out much, and only his diehard fans are going to be building him up to plus and merge. And if you're going to be using him on a budget for something like Tempest Trial, then you could just give him Fury as the slotted skill and run him with Moonbow, so he could just function as a refresher, and you could even use him for the limited battles. But if you have Legend Minion, then you do have a much better refresher. And at max or high investment, you can try and run Firestorm Dance 3 and Infantry Null Follow 4 from the Divine Codes, and this way you're able to support much better as a dancer. There's no supportive Dragon Breath, so Ice Dragonstone Plus can work out, and his Scout skill can definitely work in his slot A because he does have the resistance, and he can also try and run Speed Resistance Finish 3 as the Sacred Seal. But if you're trying to go even further when it comes to his own combat, then he can try and run Dragonstone Plus for its null follow-up effect and the flat damage reduction, and stack up the flat damage reduction with Lagoose Friend 4 while running Dragon's Roar for giving you even more unpierceable damage reduction. So with Time Pulse 4 you can easily make use of this with Emblem Ike, and you're able to have a lot of unpierceable damage reduction, so his combat does become a lot better, and this is definitely one of the ways that you could try and build him up. And Null Counter Disrupt Echo is going to be his best skill if you're trying to tank with him. And you can also run him as a utility dancer with Arcane Feltstone, so this is also a build that you could try and use in Arena. Even though play is a low scoring assist, still he's able to score decently well despite having the BST penalty because of High Dragon Wall and Distant Counter Dragon. So High Dragon Wall has got the warp blocking against the ranged foes, so that can help your team. And you can also run a ploy skill so that he can make use of his visible resistance, and for slotty speed resistance Cal 4 is going to be really good, especially for Arena, and this way you're able to have a dancer while also providing some utility with his slot B and slot C skill. Arcane Feltstone is going to be having the full null follow up, and the special charges from it does help you trigger Dragon's Roar easily and retaliate back with it, so this way he's able to have a bit better damage output, and he also gets plus 14 to all of his stats, which is better than any kind of other Dragon Breath. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and you can click the link on your screen right now to check out my breakdown of this month's weapon refines, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the amount of supportive Dragon Breaths in the game. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.